I still can't believe what happened. My own uncle, the man I looked up to for years, tried to demolish my property, a property he thought was abandoned, just to make extra parking space for his booming business. He almost got away with it too, if it weren't for the city inspector who stumbled upon my secret. Tell me, was I wrong to want to completely cut him out of my life after this? I mean, who does that to family? Let me take you back to how this whole mess began. My grandfather, a brilliant but eccentric inventor, bought a large, dilapidated warehouse decades ago. It was in a prime location, nestled right behind what would eventually become a bustling commercial district. He never really used it for anything conventional. Instead, he filled it with his bizarre inventions, prototypes, and what he called his life's work, which to a child looked like a collection of dusty junk and whirring contraptions. He always told me, "This warehouse holds the future, kiddo, and someday it'll be yours." I adored my grandfather. He was the kind of man who encouraged curiosity, who saw potential in everything, and who always had a wild story or a new gadget to show me. When he passed away 5 years ago, it hit me hard. He left me the warehouse in his will. Everyone else in the family thought it was a joke, a worthless burden, a massive white elephant. My uncle in particular was vocal about it. Just sell it for scrap, my name, he'd advised, it's a liability, not an asset. He even offered to take it off my hands, for a ridiculously low sum, claiming he'd do me a favor by clearing the land. I politely declined, remembering my grandfather's words and the strange gleam in his eyes whenever he spoke of the place. My uncle, let's call him Mark, owned a successful chain of auto repair shops. His main shop was directly adjacent to my warehouse, separated only by a narrow alleyway. As his business grew, so did his need for parking. His current lot was always overflowing with customer cars, tow trucks, and employee vehicles. I could see his frustration every time I visited. He'd often joke about borrowing my abandoned space, winking as if it were a harmless quip. I'd just laugh it off, thinking nothing of it. I had a demanding job that required a lot of travel, so I couldn't visit the warehouse as often as I'd have liked. It wasn't truly abandoned, though. I paid the property taxes, kept up with basic maintenance, and had a very robust security system in place: motion sensors, cameras, industrial grade locks. I even had a caretaker, an old friend of my grandfather's, who lived in a small apartment on the property and looked after things, reporting any issues to me. However, this caretaker, bless his heart, was getting on in years and wasn't always as vigilant as he once was. Plus, he had a habit of taking long fishing trips, leaving the property truly unattended for weeks at a time. This particular incident, of course, happened during one of his extended excursions. The reason I held onto the warehouse wasn't just sentimental. My grandfather, in his final years, had hinted at something extraordinary hidden within it. He'd shown me a series of complex schematics, diagrams that looked like they belonged in a sci-fi movie, and whispered about a discovery that would change everything. He had been working on a revolutionary energy source, something he believed could solve the world's power crisis. He'd never fully completed it, but he had left me clues, a sort of treasure hunt within the warehouse, to find the culmination of his life's work. It was my sacred mission to discover and understand what he had left behind. I had spent countless hours, whenever I was in town, deciphering his cryptic notes, exploring the labyrinthine interior, and slowly piecing together the puzzle. I had a few breakthroughs, enough to convince me that this wasn't just an old man's fantasy. There was something truly remarkable there, something valuable beyond measure. Because of the sensitivity and potential danger of what I was uncovering, I kept it all a secret, even from my closest friends. I certainly didn't trust Uncle Mark, with his purely commercial mindset, to understand or appreciate the true value of what lay within those walls. One day, I received a frantic call from a neighbor. "Your warehouse, my name. There are bulldozers. Your uncle is here. He's tearing it down." My heart dropped into my stomach. It was like a punch to the gut. I was hundreds of miles away on a business trip and felt utterly helpless. I tried calling Uncle Mark, but he didn't answer. I called the police, but they said they couldn't intervene without proof of ownership and a clear violation. It was a civil matter, they claimed, unless I could prove something criminal. I had the deed, of course, but that didn't stop a bulldozer in real time. I immediately booked the first flight home, my mind racing. What could he be thinking? How could he do this? Did he truly believe it was abandoned? Or worse, did he know what was inside and was trying to seize it? The anger simmered within me, a fiery pit of betrayal. When I finally arrived back in town, it was worse than I imagined. The entire front wall of the warehouse had been completely demolished. Rubble was everywhere. My grandfather's precious inventions, his life's work, were exposed to the elements, some crushed, others teetering precariously. A team of construction workers, hired by Uncle Mark, were busily clearing debris, preparing the ground for what I could only assume were new parking spaces. Uncle Mark himself was there, directing the crew, a smug look on his face. When he saw me, his expression shifted to one of feigned surprise, then a bizarre mix of annoyance and entitlement. "Oh, my name, what a surprise. Didn't expect you back so soon." He spoke as if I had merely dropped by for a casual visit, not to witness the destruction of my inheritance. "Uncle Mark, what in the world do you think you're doing?" I practically screamed, my voice shaking with rage and disbelief. He scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. "Relax, kiddo. This old eyesore was falling apart anyway. I'm doing you a favor, clearing this junk, making it useful. I even called the city about it. They said it was designated as derelict. I figured you'd just let it sit here and rot." "Derelict? This is my property. I pay taxes on it. It's not abandoned, and even if it were, you have no right to touch it." I pulled out my phone, ready to call the police again, this time with a clearer understanding of the situation. Hold on," he said, suddenly a bit more cautious, seeing the fury in my eyes. "No need to get dramatic. I was going to contact you. I was planning to offer you a fair price for the land once it was cleared. Think of it as a renovation project for your benefit. Less headache for you, more parking for me. Win. A fair price. After he'd already destroyed a significant portion of my building and likely damaged irreplaceable items inside. He was trying to strong-arm me, to present me with a fait accompli. The sheer audacity of his plan, coupled with his condescending tone, made my blood boil. It wasn't just about the money. It was the blatant disrespect for my property, for my grandfather's legacy, and for me. Just as our argument was escalating, a city vehicle pulled up. Out stepped a man in a crisp uniform, carrying a clipboard. He introduced himself as Mr. Henderson, a city inspector. Received a report about unauthorized demolition and potential zoning violations. He stated, looking from the gaping hole in my warehouse to the busy construction crew, then to my red-faced uncle and me. Uncle Mark immediately put on his most charming smile. "Mr. Henderson, what a pleasure, just a misunderstanding here. My nephew and I are just discussing renovations for this old structure. It's an eyesore, you see, been derelict for years. I'm just helping him clear it up." Mr. Henderson, however, wasn't swayed by Mark's charm. He held up a hand. "Sir, I have a permit application here for demolition, filed by a Mark Johnson. Is that you? Listing the property as abandoned and requesting immediate clearance for commercial expansion." "That correct?" Uncle Mark nodded, beaming. "That's me, just doing my part for urban renewal, you know." "And who is the legal owner of this property, Mr.?" Henderson asked, turning his gaze to me. I stepped forward, brandishing my deed. "I am, my name, and I assure you, this property is neither abandoned nor derelict, and I certainly did not authorize any demolition, Mr." Henderson's eyes narrowed. "So, Mr. Johnson, you filed a permit application under false pretenses, claiming ownership of a property that isn't yours, and initiated demolition without the owner's consent or a valid permit. That's a serious offense." Uncle Mark's face went pale. "Now, wait a minute, Mr. Henderson. My nephew here, he barely visits this place. It looks abandoned, and I've been trying to get him to sell it to me for ages. I just assumed." "Assumed is not how we operate, sir." Mr. Henderson cut him off sternly. "You've violated multiple city codes, including illegal demolition, false filing, and potentially trespassing. This operation needs to cease immediately." He then turned to the construction crew. "Stop all work. Secure the site. Anyone who continues will be subject to arrest." The crew, looking bewildered, slowly powered down their equipment. Uncle Mark looked like he'd been punched, but it was what Mr. Henderson said next that truly turned the tables. He walked towards the gaping hole in the warehouse wall, peering inside. "And what exactly is in here, ma'am?" he asked me, pointing to something amidst the exposed interior. So that's the situation I was in, with my uncle exposed and the city inspector on site. I had to make a choice. Do I simply let the law take its course, or do I expose the full extent of my uncle's deception and the secret he almost destroyed? Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have gone for maximum impact or tried to keep things quiet? I took a deep breath. This was it. The moment of truth. "Mr. Henderson," I began, my voice clear and steady, "what's inside this warehouse is more than just junk or derelict property. It's my grandfather's legacy and something of immense scientific value." I walked over to where Mr. Henderson was pointing, towards a large, oddly shaped metallic object partially covered by a tarp, now exposed by the demolished wall. My grandfather was an inventor. He spent his life working on a revolutionary energy device. It's not complete yet, but it's a prototype, and it's extremely sensitive. Mr. Henderson looked skeptical, but intrigued. "An energy device, you say?" "Yes," I confirmed, "and my uncle almost destroyed it for a parking lot." I then explained to him, in broad strokes, my grandfather's research and my efforts to continue his work. I also showed him some of the intricate blueprints I had managed to salvage, detailing the complex internal workings of the device. The inspector, a man used to dealing with mundane building codes, seemed genuinely captivated. He asked me to elaborate, and I did, carefully omitting the more fantastical elements of my grandfather's visions, but emphasizing the immense intellectual property and potential economic value of the discovery. I explained how this wasn't just some old, abandoned building. It was a private research facility, albeit a very unconventional one. While I spoke, Uncle Mark stood there, speechless, his face a mixture of fear and pure confusion. He probably thought I was insane, fabricating a story to get him into deeper trouble. He clearly had no idea of the true nature of my grandfather's junk. As I finished, Mr. Henderson turned to Uncle Mark, a grim expression on his face. "Mr. Johnson, not only did you illegally demolish a structure, but you also endangered what appears to be a significant scientific project. This goes far beyond a simple zoning violation. This could be considered corporate espionage or even sabotage, depending on the value of what's inside. We're going to need to bring in some specialists for this. And you, sir, are facing severe fines, potential lawsuits, and possibly criminal charges. The color drained from Uncle Mark's face completely. He stammered, "No, no, that's absurd. She's making it up. It's just old scrap metal. She's crazy." But it was too late. Mr. Henderson had already made a call. Within an hour, not only was the city police on site, but also representatives from the city planning department and even a couple of stern-faced individuals from a state agency specializing in intellectual property and historical preservation, due to the unique nature of my grandfather's work. My grandfather, it turned out, had quietly corresponded with a few scientific institutions over the years, hinting at his work, and some of those letters had been preserved. The mention of a revolutionary energy device quickly caught their attention. The ensuing investigation was thorough and incredibly detailed. They meticulously documented the damage, cataloged the exposed equipment, and cross-referenced my grandfather's notes with some existing scientific databases. They also interviewed me extensively. Uncle Mark, on the other hand, was taken in for questioning and eventually charged with illegal demolition, filing false documents, and reckless endangerment of property. The abandoned warehouse, now a crime scene and a site of intense scientific interest, was cordoned off. The city immediately issued a stop-work order on Uncle Mark's business expansion plans and launched a full investigation into his past dealings. The aftermath was devastating for Uncle Mark. The fines alone were astronomical, not to mention the legal fees. His reputation in the business community was shattered. Many of his customers, hearing of his callous actions, took their business elsewhere. His expansion plans were permanently halted, and he even lost some of his existing parking spaces due to new regulations imposed by the city. My family was torn apart by the incident. Some sided with Uncle Mark, believing I had overreacted and should have just sold him the worthless property. Others, like my mother, were horrified by his betrayal and stood firmly by me. As for the warehouse, it became a focal point of intense interest. The city, recognizing the potential value of my grandfather's work, offered me assistance in securing and repairing the damaged structure. With the help of specialists, I was able to carefully move and protect my grandfather's prototype. The incident, while traumatic, had inadvertently given me the validation I needed. My grandfather's legacy was no longer a secret burden. It was a recognized, protected treasure. I'm now working with a team of brilliant engineers and scientists to continue his research, hoping to one day bring his vision to fruition. The project is still highly confidential, but the early results are promising. We've even considered setting up a proper research foundation in his name. I still haven't spoken to Uncle Mark since the day of the confrontation. He tried to apologize, sending me multiple texts and leaving voicemails, but I just couldn't bring myself to respond. The betrayal ran too deep. He didn't just try to demolish a building. He tried to erase my grandfather's memory and, in doing so, almost destroyed a significant piece of my future. I honestly don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive him. The emotional scars remain, a constant reminder of how easily trust can be shattered, especially by family. So, that's my story. It's been a wild ride, and I'm still processing it all. The warehouse, once seen as an abandoned relic, is now a symbol of hope and scientific potential. Like this video, if you were on my side in this whole ordeal. Subscribe for more stories like this, and tell me your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. I'll see you all in the next story.